Have you ever wondered why changing your life feels so difficult? Why do we promise ourselves that we will change, but after a few days we return to the same old habits? Maybe you have told yourself, I will study harder, I will stop wasting time, I will become a better version of myself, but then motivation disappears, and everything feels the same again. The reason might not be that you are weak or that you lack motivation. The real reason is deeper. It is about the way you see yourself. Your habits are not just things you do every day. They are shaping your identity, your mindset, and the person you are becoming. In this video, we will explore how your daily choices create your future self, why small actions can completely change your life, and how you can build the identity of the person you truly want to become. If you are ready to understand yourself better and start creating a better version of you, stay until the end. Let's begin. Your habits are creating your future self. Part 1. Why is change so difficult? Have you ever promised yourself that you were going to change? Maybe you decided that from tomorrow you would wake up earlier, study harder, exercise more, stop wasting time on your phone, or finally work on your dreams. For a few days, everything feels possible. You feel motivated. You feel like a new person, but then something happens. The excitement disappears, the routine becomes harder, you start making excuses, and slowly, you return to your old habits. This happens to almost everyone. The strange thing is that we often know what is good for us, but knowing is not enough. We know that reading can improve our minds, exercise can improve our health, and discipline can improve our future. But even with this knowledge, changing our behavior can feel extremely difficult. Why? Because habits are not just actions. They are connected to something much deeper, the way we see ourselves. Many people think change starts with motivation. They believe they need to feel inspired every day before they can improve their lives, but motivation is temporary. Some days you feel powerful and ready to do anything. Other days you feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. If your success depends only on motivation, you will always struggle. The people who create lasting change usually understand something different. They don't only change what they do, they change who they believe they are. Imagine two people who want to become healthier. The first person says, I want to lose weight because I don't like my body. The second person says, I am someone who takes care of my health. Both people may start exercising. Both may choose healthier food, but their mindset is different. The first person is trying to reach a goal. The second person is building an identity. When your actions match the person you believe you are, change becomes much easier. Think about something simple. A person who sees themselves as a reader does not need to force themselves to open a book. Reading is just something they do because it matches who they are. A person who sees themselves as a musician practices because music is part of their identity. A person who sees themselves as a student who values learning studies because studying represents the kind of person they want to become. Your habits are constantly sending messages to your brain. Every action you repeat is like saying, this is the type of person I am. The good news is that this works in both directions. If you repeatedly choose positive actions, you build evidence that you are capable, disciplined, and improving. But if you constantly repeat negative habits, you can start believing harmful things about yourself. You might start saying, I am lazy, I can't focus, I am not talented, I'm just not that kind of person. But these are not permanent truths. They are stories created by repeated experiences. The person you are today is the result of thousands of small choices you made in the past, and the person you become tomorrow will be shaped by the choices you make today. A small habit may seem meaningless at first. Studying for 20 minutes may not transform your life immediately. Reading a few pages may not make you an expert. Saving a small amount of money may not make you rich, but repeated actions create a pattern, and patterns create identity. A tree does not become strong because of one drop of water. It grows because it receives water again and again over time. Your personal growth works the same way. You don't become a different person overnight. You become different through small actions repeated consistently. So the question is not only, what do I want to achieve? The deeper question is, who do I want to become? Because once you know the answer, your habits become the path that takes you there. In the next part, we will explore the 3 levels of change and why most people focus on the wrong one. The person you become is built by your daily habits. Part 2, the 3 levels of change when people try to improve their lives. They usually focus on one thing, the result they want. They think about the final destination. They imagine the perfect body, the successful career, the high grades, the money, or the dream life they want to create. There is nothing wrong with having goals. Goals are important because they give us something to move toward, but many people stop there. They focus on what they want to have, but they forget to think about who they need to become. I believe there are different layers of change, and understanding these layers can completely change the way we improve ourselves. The first level is the result. This is the most visible type of change. It is about the things we want to achieve. For example, I want to lose weight. I want to get better grades. I want to become successful. I want to write a book. These goals are about the final outcome. They describe what we want to get. The second level is our actions and systems. This is about what we actually do every day. If someone wants better grades, their system might include studying every day, reviewing lessons, practicing questions, and managing their time. If someone wants better health, their system might include exercising, sleeping well, and choosing better food. This level is important because results usually come from repeated actions, but there is a third level that goes even deeper. It is the level of identity. Identity is how you see yourself. It is the answer to questions like, who am I? What kind of person am I? What do I believe about myself? This level is powerful because your identity influences your decisions. Imagine two people trying to learn a new language. The first person says, I want to learn a language because it would be useful. The second person says, I am someone who loves learning new things. Both people may start studying, but when things become difficult, their mindset may be different. The first person might quit because the process feels uncomfortable. The second person may continue because learning matches the person they believe they are. The action is the same, but the identity behind it is different. This is why sometimes people achieve a goal but cannot maintain it. They change their behavior temporarily, but they never change the belief behind that behavior. For example, someone might follow a strict diet for 1 month because they want to lose weight, but if they still see themselves as someone who does not care about health, they may eventually return to their old habits. The external change happened, but the internal identity stayed the same. Real transformation happens when your identity and your actions start matching. Instead of saying, I am trying to become organized, you start thinking, I am an organized person. Instead of, I am trying to study more, you start thinking, I am someone who takes learning seriously. Instead of, I am trying to become confident, you start thinking, I am someone who faces challenges and grows. The words may seem small, but the meaning behind them is powerful. Your brain naturally tries to make your actions match your identity. When you believe something is part of who you are more likely to protect it. Think about someone who loves playing a sport. They do not always need someone to force them to practice. They practice because being an athlete has become part of their identity. Or think about someone who loves art. They do not create only because they have a goal. Creating is connected to who they are. The same idea applies to any area of life. The strongest habits are not the ones you force yourself to do. They are the ones that feel natural because they represent the person you want to be. But identity can also work against us. Sometimes we create negative identities without realizing it. We say things like, I am just not smart. I have always been bad at math. I am not a morning person. I cannot talk to people. When we repeat these statements, we start looking for evidence to prove them true. Then we avoid opportunities that could help us grow. A person who believes they are bad at something may stop trying before they even improve, but a person who believes they are capable will keep learning. This does not mean you should pretend everything is easy. Growth still requires effort. You will still face challenges, but the way you see yourself can decide whether you continue or give up. The important thing to remember is that your identity is not something fixed forever. It can grow. It can change. You are not trapped by the person you were in the past. Every day gives you a chance to build a different version of yourself. The question is, are your current habits creating the person you want to become? Because your habits are always shaping you, whether you notice it or not. In the next part, We will talk about how small actions become evidence of your new identity and how you can intentionally build the person you want to be. The person you become is built by your daily habits. Part 3. Small actions are building your future self. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to change their lives is believing that only big actions matter. They think they need a huge transformation. They think they need to completely change their personality, their routine, and their lifestyle all at once, but real change usually does not happen like that. Most transformations begin with very small decisions that seem unimportant at first. A person does not suddenly become successful in one day. A person becomes successful through thousands of small choices repeated over time. The same thing happens with identity. Your identity is built through evidence. You start believing something about yourself because you have proof that supports that belief. For example, imagine someone who wants to become a writer. At the beginning, they may not feel like a writer. They might think, I am not creative enough, I am not talented, I am just someone who likes writing. But every time they sit down and write, they create evidence. One page becomes proof. One story becomes proof. One finished project becomes proof. Slowly, their belief begins to change. They no longer just want to be a writer. They become someone who writes. This idea applies to every area of life. If you want to become a disciplined person, discipline is not created by one perfect day. It is created every time you choose to do something important, even when you do not feel like it. If you want to become a confident person, confidence is not created by waiting until you feel fearless. Confidence grows every time you take a small step outside your comfort zone. If you want to become a knowledgeable person, knowledge grows every time you choose learning over distraction. Your actions are constantly giving your brain information about who you are. Every choice is like a small vote. One vote may not change the result, but thousands of votes create a clear direction. Imagine you want to become someone who is physically healthy. Going for one walk does not suddenly make you a healthy person, but every walk, every healthy meal, and every decision to care for yourself adds more evidence. Eventually, the way you see yourself begins to change. You stop thinking, I need to force myself to exercise. You start thinking, exercise is something I do because I care about myself. This is the difference between forcing a habit and becoming the kind of person who naturally lives that habit. But remember, this works with negative habits too. Small negative choices also create evidence. If someone constantly chooses to avoid difficult tasks, they may start believing, I am someone who always procrastinates. If someone constantly gives up when things become challenging, they may start believing, I am not a person who finishes things. The good news is that one mistake does not define you. You do not need to be perfect to change. Many people give up because they believe one bad day destroys all their progress, but change does not work that way. Think about it like an election. You do not need every single vote to go in one direction to win. You just need enough votes. The same is true for your habits. One unhealthy meal does not destroy your health. One lazy day does not destroy your discipline. One failure does not destroy your identity. What matters is the direction you are moving most of the time. The goal is progress, not perfection. Another important thing to understand is that your environment can influence your identity. The things around you can make certain habits easier or harder. If your books are hidden away and your phone is always in your hand, which one do you think you will choose more often? If healthy food is available and easy to reach, you are more likely to choose it. Your surroundings are silently encouraging certain behaviors. This means creating a better identity is not only about having more willpower. It is also about creating an environment that supports the person you want to become. If you want to become a reader, keep books where you can see them. If you want to study more, prepare your study space before you begin. If you want to spend less time on distractions, make those distractions harder to access. Small changes in your environment can support big changes in your life. The person you become is not created by one decision. It is created by the pattern of decisions you repeat every morning, every afternoon, and every evening. You are shaping your future self. So ask yourself, what kind of person are my current habits creating? Are they creating someone you are proud of? Or are they creating someone you are trying to escape from? The beautiful thing is that you always have another chance to choose differently. The next small action you take can be another vote for the person you want to become. In the next part, we will talk about how to break old identities and stop letting past beliefs control your future. The person you become is built by your daily habits. Part 4, Breaking Old Identities and Rewriting Your Story. Sometimes the biggest thing stopping us from changing is not our situation. It is the story we believe about ourselves. Everyone carries stories about who they are. Some stories help us grow, but some stories quietly limit us. Maybe you have heard someone say, "I have always been bad at math. I am just not a confident person. I am not creative. I am too lazy. I can never be successful." At first, these statements may sound harmless, but when we repeat them again and again, they can become part of our identity. And once something becomes part of our identity, we start protecting it. We begin acting in ways that match the person we believe we are. For example, someone who believes they are bad at learning may avoid challenges. When they avoid challenges, they get less practice. When they get less practice, they do not improve. Then they use that as proof that they were right all along. This creates a cycle. A belief creates an action. The action creates evidence. The evidence strengthens the belief. But the good news is that this cycle can work in a positive direction too. You can create new evidence. You can build a new story. Instead of saying, "I am bad at math," you can say, "I am someone who is learning math." Instead of, "I am not disciplined," you can say, "I am becoming someone who keeps promises to myself." Instead of, "I am not confident," you can say, "I am practicing confidence every day." Notice the difference. The new statements do not pretend that everything is already perfect. They focus on growth. You are not lying to yourself. You are creating a direction. Many people believe they need to feel like a new person before they can act differently, but often the opposite is true. You act differently first, and then your feelings and beliefs catch up. Confidence usually comes after taking action, not before. Discipline grows after practicing discipline. Courage grows after doing difficult things. You become the person you want to be by behaving like that person before you fully feel like them. Think about learning any skill. A beginner does not start as an expert. A beginner becomes an expert through practice. Nobody expects a person who plays the guitar for the first time to sound like a professional musician. So, why do we expect ourselves to become perfect immediately in other areas of life? Growth requires patience. Another important part of changing your identity is letting go of old versions of yourself. Sometimes, people hold on to old labels because they are familiar. Even a negative identity can feel comfortable because it is known. A person might think, "This is just who I am," but the truth is, who you are today is not the final version of you. You are always changing. Your experiences change you. Your choices change you. Your habits change you. The question is whether you are changing intentionally or accidentally. If you do not choose your identity, your habits and environment may choose it for you. You may become someone who spends hours scrolling because that is what you repeat every day. You may become someone who avoids challenges because avoiding is what feels comfortable. You may become someone who doubts yourself because doubt has become familiar. But you can interrupt that pattern. You can ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do in this situation? A future version of yourself can become your guide. If you want to become a successful student, ask, what would a successful student do today? If you want to become healthier, ask, what would a healthy person choose right now? If you want to become more confident, ask, what would a confident person do? You do not need to completely become that person today. You only need to take one action that matches that identity. Every small action is a message. This is who I am becoming. Your past explains where you came from, but it does not decide where you are going. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow old habits. You are allowed to become someone different from who people expect you to be. The strongest transformations happen when you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "Who do I want to become?" Because the future version of you is built by the choices you make today. In the next part, we will talk about the practical steps you can take to create a new identity and build habits that match the person you want to become. The person you become is built by your daily habits. Part 5, How to build the identity you want. Now that we understand how powerful identity is, The next question is, how do we actually create a new version of ourselves? How do we become the person we want to be? The process begins with one important decision. You have to decide who you want to become. Many people start with the question, what do I want to achieve? But a better question is, who is the type of person who can achieve this? The difference between these two questions is huge. Imagine someone who wants to write a book. If they only focus on the goal, they might think, I need to finish a book. That goal may feel overwhelming, but if they focus on identity, they can ask, what kind of person writes a book? The answer might be a person who is consistent, a person who learns, a person who practices, a person who does not give up easily. Now the focus changes. Instead of only chasing the result, they start becoming the kind of person who naturally creates that result. This idea can be applied to anything. If you want better grades, do not only think, I want higher marks. Ask, what kind of person gets higher marks? Maybe that person is someone who prepares early, asks questions, reviews mistakes, and values learning. If you want to become healthier, do not only think, I want a better body. Ask, what kind of person takes care of their health? Maybe that person chooses habits that respect their body. Your identity becomes your direction, but identity alone is not enough. You need proof. You need small wins that show your brain, this is who I am becoming. Small wins are powerful because they build trust in yourself. Every time you keep a promise you make to yourself, your confidence grows. For example, you decide to study for 30 minutes, you complete it, your brain receives a message. I am someone who follows through. You decide to wake up earlier, you do it, your brain receives another message. I am someone who is disciplined. These small moments may seem ordinary, but they are building your self-image. A lot of people underestimate small improvements because they cannot see immediate results. They think, what difference will one day make? But one day becomes many days. One page becomes a book. One workout becomes a stronger body. One lesson becomes knowledge. One small action becomes a lifestyle. The secret is not making a huge change once. The secret is making small changes repeatedly. Another important part of building a new identity is choosing habits that match your values. Your habits should not only be things you force yourself to do, they should connect with the person you want to become. For example, if you value creativity, make time to create. If you value learning, spend time gaining knowledge. If you value kindness, practice helping others. Your values are like a compass. They guide your decisions when motivation disappears, because motivation will not always be there. There will be days when you feel tired. There will be days when you do not feel inspired. That is normal. The difference between people who grow and people who stay the same is often what they do on those difficult days. A person who has built a strong identity does not ask, do I feel like doing this? They ask, what would the person I want to become do? That question can change everything. It moves you away from temporary feelings and toward long-term growth. Remember, becoming someone new does not mean rejecting who you are today. It means building on who you already are. You do not need to wait until you are perfect. You can start from where you are. The person you want to become is created through the choices you make now. Every action is a step. Every habit is a building block. Every day is another opportunity to prove to yourself that change is possible. In the final part, we will talk about the deeper reason habits matter and how your daily choices are shaping the story of your life.
So, remember this. Your future is not created by one huge decision. It is created by the small choices you repeat every day. The person you want to become is not far away. You are building that person right now, through every action you take. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, learning over distraction, and courage over fear, you are becoming a little closer to your best self. You don't have to change everything today. Just start with one small step, one habit, one promise you keep to yourself. Because one day you will look back and realize that those small choices were not small at all. They were the moments that changed your life. So ask yourself, who do I want to become? And then take one action today that proves you are becoming that person. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this message. I'll see you in the next one.